Renee, I know you had something that you wanted to mention quickly.
I wanted to mention the fact that Jerry West was 1-8 in 9 NBA Finals. There's somebody who tied him in terms of NBA Finals futility. That would be Elgin Baylor. He was 0-8. Elgin Baylor never won a championship in 8 tries. Jerry West won 1 in 9.
Perfect. Appreciate you correcting that. All right, let's get to this here. Muhammad Ali passed away on Friday at the age of 74. There's been an outpouring of reaction, including from former Yankee star Derek Jeter. He was one of the first athletes to speak his mind, and that opened the door for the many who do so today. He also stood up for what he believed, no matter what the cost. Ali was also the first to bring real personality to sports, and by that, I mean he was always himself, no matter who he was, who he was with or where he was. Jeter's comments have come under the scrutiny of New York Daily News writer Ebenezer Samuel, who said this: "It was the most generic tribute possible, dripping of the exact platitudes we'd expect to hear about the greatest. So, of course, it had to come from Derek Jeter, the most generic superstar athlete of our time. Jeter made a career of never choosing to truly impact the world. Yet there he was on Saturday, praising Ali for teaching him just that." Stephen A., what do you make of Samuel's criticism towards Jeter's comments on Ali?
I think it's excessive. He's not totally wrong. I will say that, which I know in and of itself may have knocked Skip off his chair, considering how much he knows I love Derek Jeter.
Yep.
I mean, there's nobody that I love. There's nobody that I love more. The modern day athlete. Now, obviously, Ali came before him, and Ali has always been the greatest to me. But Derek Jeter, in terms of modern day athlete, that's my man. I love him to death. Okay, everybody knows how much I love the great one, El Capitan, Derek Jeter. But I think the criticism was excessive. When you make the statement that he never impacted the world, you're going too far. Because you're making the assumption that one has to speak and verbalize things in order to have an impact. And that's simply incorrect. Derek Jeter's consummate professionalism, being the ultimate teammate, being somebody who went out in one big moment after another and performed, also showed a nation of youngsters on the come up about doing things the right way, going out there, being committed totally to your craft, never cheating yourself, never cheating the game, never compromising the game in any way. And so when you look at it from that perspective, I think that comment about how he never impacted the world is excessive, because there are a variety of ways to impact the world. Don't tell me Michael Jordan didn't impact the world. Michael Jordan didn't have but so much to say. Michael Jordan doesn't have to be Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley has a voice. Charles Barkley is a star. Charles Barkley is my friend. Charles Barkley is must-see TV. Charles Barkley is not a billionaire. That would happen to be Michael Jordan. Okay? And no matter, and think about Michael Jordan and the charitable contributions and beyond. There is no question that he's impacted the world. There is no question that Derek Jeter has impacted the world. This notion that people have to speak, have to be verbal in order to be effective is one of the things that I respectfully, because I have nothing but profound respect for Jim Brown, but I respectfully disagree with Jim Brown in terms of his take on Kobe Bryant. Everybody doesn't have the ability to articulate and eloquently state their position for the masses to really hear and for that message to reverberate throughout our nation. Some people serve a purpose in a different role, and we need to respect that. So that's what makes me say Ebenezer's column, that particular statement about how Jeter didn't affect the world is excessive. I don't think that's accurate. But I will give him credit for this as a columnist with what he said. He pointed out how Jeter wrote, Ali was one of the first athletes to speak his mind, and that opened the doors for many to do so today. Considering that one statement there, it does make you wonder why Jeter, who does speak eloquently, who does articulate himself quite well, rarely, if ever, took the time to speak on issues that resonated throughout our society. So in that regard, he has a point. I just think he's excessive with saying that Jeter had no impact. I think Jeter had a profound impact on a lot of young lives. It's just that at times, because of his intelligence, because of how much of a professional he was, because of how good of a man he was, you could legitimately argue that he could have done more had he spoken up more?
You and I are coming at this from very different places. I have told you many, many times over our long friendship and on-air relationship, I would love to see you someday be in a political forum where you could have more of a politicalized talk show where you could take stands on politics or religion or social change because you're gifted at it. And I love the way your mind works. Don't always agree with it, but I love your passion for it. You're built to do that. This is just me. From my start in this business of covering star athletes, I never expected any of them to become major voices for political or social or religious change in the world or in this country. Now, again, you might look at it as a black community point of view versus a white community point of view, and you got me on that one. I'm obviously looking at it through, from a white perspective. But I'm looking at athletes as role models, and I never expected one of them to be a role model because most of them aren't cut out for it. In fact, most athletes that I've been around make the worst role models because they're surrounded by so many temptations and they have so much money, it's hard for them to have any perspective on life. So unless they want to, and some want and choose and strive to, and I'm great with that too, but they're the ones blessed with the minds and the perspective to do so, as are you. But in many, many cases, and Derek Jeter may be one of them, he just wasn't interested. He didn't want to get involved in controversy, and I always got the feeling he just wasn't sure what to say. He didn't have strong feelings one way or the other. And back to the writer's line, this whole idea of he didn't make a career out of, or he made a career out of never choosing to impact the world. No, Derek Jeter made a career out of winning championships for the New York Yankees. That's it. Period. End of story. Yeah, he did it the right way. He made a career out of becoming, I'm pretty sure, a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's what he did for Yankee fans everywhere. Period. End of story. That's all the involvement he wanted. Michael Jordan made a career of winning 6 championships in 6 tries with 6 finals MVPs for the Chicago Bulls. That's what he did. Period. End of story as a player. Now he's making a career in ownership in the National Basketball Association. He is breaking ground. He is the new frontier of black ownership in the NBA. Okay, that's what he does. But did I expect him to change the world? I didn't. But that's just me. Maybe you feel differently.
Well, I don't, because, again, it's a hard subject for me because we all know how much I love and revere Derek Jeter. I mean, he's one of my all-time favorites. I mean, I just revere the man in the highest regard. I've had the pleasure of meeting his parents on several occasions. They're wonderful in and of themselves, his whole family, as far as I'm concerned. They're just great people. But I understand where the columnist is coming from, because even though Derek Jeter made a career of winning championships, think about what he's saying. He's talking about how Ali opened doors because Ali was willing to speak up and speak out. What is Derek Jeter synonymous with today, now that his playing career is over? It's the Players Tribune, giving them a voice. So now you're saying, okay, well, you're synonymous with that and you wanted to give the players a voice. Some will obviously ask, why didn't you use your voice in order to make more of a difference? Now, I don't have a problem with Derek Jeter. I totally agree with you and where you're coming from, Skip. It's just that I see the other side, because Derek Jeter is one of those rare athletes that had the ability to resonate beyond a particular community. When he spoke, he was like E.F. Hutton. You listened because he was Derek Jeter. No matter your ethnicity, your race, color, creed, classism, whatever the case may be, because he was Derek Jeter. Now, he had a white mom and a black father, and that might have been challenging for him, so he may have been absolutely right to guard himself carefully, because you don't want to offend anybody, particularly when it's the 2 people that you love most in this world, which is your parents, which is why I say this is excessive, what the column alluded to. I'm just saying that I understand where they're coming from, because here you are praising Ali for doing something one would argue you never did when you're one of the rare individuals who could have gotten away with it and have had a profound impact. I get that. I understand it.
Okay, and I do find it, as you point out, quite ironic that at least Derek Jeter has created an incredible platform in which any athlete can have an unfiltered voice. You know,
Absolutely.
it doesn't have to be filtered through the ESPN cameras and the ESPN editing.
That's right.
You know, the athlete can express himself to whatever degree he wants to, thanks to Derek Jeter's platform that he's provided.
It's phenomenal. It's just that it's different now. It's just that somebody else has the right to say, hey, you know, this is different than what you could have done. I understand it. But I just don't agree.
I certainly do believe he leads by example, how he treated people, carried himself, worked, etc.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and had an
One of the
impact
best.
in that way as well. Up next, Aqib Talib is shot in the leg during a late-night incident at a Dallas nightclub.